Eric Smith, Race Review Online. Hey, Eric.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Scott, piggyback off Ben's question there. I won't use the old age question, but I'll use the experience with you've led more laps than 16 drivers in this field have completed there. How much does experience play a role into being successful at Texas?
I think if you use it, wisely, it helps. But I think, I don't know. I always kind of approach it two different ways. I think the first time, for example, like when I went to the 500, the first couple of years, you're kind of blown away by so many different things that, you don't just focus on specific, things and maybe, kind of cycle yourself out of it, or you become too obsessed with it, or things like that. So what I'm saying is sometimes it's better to not know what's coming than all the times that you've been there. So, especially for a lot of us too, or some of us veterans, we used to race there twice a year, so we have done a lot of races there, throughout our careers. But I think as long as you use it in a meaningful way, it's always good. But again, I think sometimes if you're a rookie or somebody that's coming for the first few races there, it's sometimes better not knowing the possibilities of what could come or might happen.
And I'm also curious, and you mentioned St. Pete and your improvement between last year and this year. You've particularly been pretty strong at Texas, obviously, over the years. How hard is it in a series like IndyCar these days to improve in one area, but not lose any kind of performance in another area, like Texas as an example? How do you go from last year to this year without losing, but gain in other areas?
I don't know. I think your off-season focus, at least for us or for myself, is always kind of your weakest moments, and you try and improve on it. So yeah, I guess you do maybe focus in and maybe spend more of your time on some of those things. There are tracks that you'll go to and you'll be like, you feel like you've got a little bit more in your back pocket, but you can't rely on that. I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed probably in the last 4 or 5 years, or even 2 or 3. It's just the depth of the field has changed a lot. That there are no small teams anymore. All the teams are very competitive. All the driver lineups are very competitive and very successful as well. So yeah, it's just become harder, I think, wherever you go. So doing your homework before you get to the track, and trying to understand what you really need to get right on the weekend, I think is rewarded a lot. So I guess time management is always a thing. So luckily we've had a little bit of time off before this one to kind of soak up what we did at St. Pete. We had a test in Barber, and then obviously moving on to this one, it's nice that we went to 3 very different circuits. But yeah, looking forward to this one, and I think it's going to be definitely with a lot of the development and off-season work I think that the team has done. I think this should be a fantastic weekend for us.
And my final one, I know you don't know about the traction compound yet, but the truck series is actually there this weekend too, and I think they've got a practice and qualifying session between your guys' practice and qualifying. Do you see any issues between the Goodyear rubber and Firestone rubber without much time kind of clean it off between qualifying and practice for you guys?
I'd say the only, positive for that is that, we do have a lot of cars here this weekend, right? With 28 cars. So I think that process should change a little bit quicker. So we'll see where that takes us. Again, it depends on, the weekend and how it rolls. For some of those sessions, but I think you're right. The traction compound will probably be the biggest defining point I think that you deal with. Just last year when you got yourself into trouble and then you got onto that stuff, it was very difficult to try and keep it all in one spot and keep it off the fence. But hopefully they haven't had any of that recently laid down, and that may make it a much easier situation for ourselves going into the weekend, and especially for the race.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. Thanks.